afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Community Corner. My name is Ryan Nicholas Gray, along with...
Hello, my name is Alan Connie Castle.
Hello, welcome to Community Corner. I'm you, DeWitt Taylor.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Ryan.
Thank you, gentlemen. Today, we're going to guest here at Community Corner, Mr. Doug Boersen. Doug is a psychiatric social worker and a recreational patient therapist. Both jobs assist people with disabilities. Doug is also involved in the sport of golf, Special Olympics golf tournament. I played golf, and I love it. I have several medals, Special Olympics golf tournaments. Please welcome Mr. Doug Boersen. Doug, thanks for coming down. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for coming.
Thank you guys for inviting me to the show.
Of course. Now, Doug, please tell us a little bit about yourself, your family, and your social, and your school and your schooling.
Okay. Well, I grew up on the west side of the state in a small town named Zeeland, which is a little west of Grand Rapids near Lake Michigan, and most people are familiar with the area because of Holland, Michigan, and tulip time. But I grew up over there on that side of the state. I have a younger sister. My parents and most of my family all live over there in that area still. And so after I graduated from college, I came to Metro Detroit to start my career. I married recently a couple years ago, and as far as my schooling, that's the other question you asked, Ryan?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I went to school at Central Michigan University, and while I was at school, I decided on a profession of recreation therapy. And most people don't know what recreation therapy is, and so I like to explain it as recreation therapy uses activities that we enjoy to do for fun, like recreation activities, golf, reading, sports, creative things like art and painting and activities like that. But it helps people recover from illnesses, from disabilities, from accidents, and helps them have a rich, fulfilling life and create some balance in their life. So everything's not about their illness or their injury or their disability.
Very interesting. Mm-hmm. Any other question?
Yeah. Tell us about your career background.
My career background, Aaron?
Yeah.
Right out of school, I was fortunate enough to get a job at Beaumont Hospital in Royal Oak, and I have been working there for a little over 23 years now. And the first 21 of those years were as a recreation therapist, working with psychiatric patients in both an inpatient unit and then now currently on an outpatient unit. And so I work with people that suffer from depression and anxiety and other mental illnesses, and help them realize the importance of recreation in their life and creating that balance like I talked about. So often when people have depression and anxiety, they don't do things they used to enjoy, and they kind of withdraw from their friends and social activities. And so it's encouraging them to reconnect with some of those activities that brought them so much pleasure. The last 2 years, after 20 years of working in that position, I decided to go back to school, and I got a master's in social work. In the last 2 years, I've been working as a social worker in the same department.
And Dave?
Thank you, Aaron. What types of hobbies do you enjoy? And are these inside, outside, or both?
Well, I'm glad that it's spring, David, because I get to be outside now and play a little golf. But I like to do a lot of things outside. I like to do a lot of sports. I play golf. I do a lot of walking. I used to do a little bit more camping than I do now. But I have a variety of interests that I like to do outside. Inside, you know, with the long Michigan winters, we have to find things to do inside. So there's a lot of things I enjoy to do. I'm a pretty avid crossword puzzle fan, watch sports on TV, and things on the computer now seem to be more and more entertaining for me too. So a little bit of both, indoor and outdoor.
Ryan?
Thank you, gentlemen. Now, Doug, what is your job, and how long have you been doing it?
Okay. Like I said, Ryan, I've been working at the Beaumont Hospital for 23 years, and recently as a social worker, and for the first 21 years as a recreation therapist. And I've been fortunate to basically have my whole career there so far, so that's been nice.
That's cool. Aaron, have a question?
What is a psychiatric social worker?
A psychiatric social worker? A psychiatric social worker, they could do a variety of things, Aaron. Often our psychiatric social worker's job is evaluating people for what they're struggling with and seeing what the best treatment might be for them. And sometimes it's just seeing a therapist or a psychiatrist. Sometimes it might be some outpatient program where it's a little more involved and they have more groups going on. And sometimes when people are really struggling, it means that maybe an inpatient treatment program would be best for them. So we do a lot of things with assessing and evaluating where people are in their lives and what best might help them, and then helping people figure out what they need to do best to make some changes for themselves so they feel better about themselves.
Cool. Dave?
Thank you. What is recreational therapy and why?
What is recreational therapy?
Yes.
Well, like I talked about at the beginning, David, recreation therapy uses leisure activities, recreation activities, to help people have some balance in their lives, help people with disabilities or accidents and illnesses overcome some of the issues that they have. Some of the things I hadn't mentioned before is that recreation therapy can help people by providing some adaptive devices for them to help them do the things they used to enjoy, or maybe even adapting the activity so it's a little easier for them to participate in and to get the enjoyment. Because sometimes when people have disabilities or people have an accident, they can't maybe participate like they used to, but they still want to do the activity. And so it's finding ways that they can still do that and make it as an enjoyable experience for them.
Ryan?
Thank you, David. Now, Doug, how did you become interested in your career?
How did I become interested?
Yeah, how?
Oh boy, I became interested in my career partly by luck. I had a roommate that was taking some recreation therapy classes, and I thought it sounded interesting, so I took a class and enjoyed it, and I just kind of went from there. As far as my interest in psychiatry and treating psychiatric illnesses, it became, I was fortunate enough that shortly after I graduated school that I applied for the job at Beaumont Hospital and got that, and furthered my education by working and learning on the job.
That's very interesting. Aaron, have a question?
When did you take up golf?
I took up golf when I was like in junior high or high school, like 14, 15, 16 years old. My dad played a little bit, and I remember just taking his clubs out in the backyard and hitting balls around. Unfortunately, denting the aluminum siding a little bit by trying to chip the ball up on the roof, instead of seeing if I could chip the ball over the roof. But you know, he was not too harsh about that. So I remember starting to like play in the backyard a little bit, and then as some of us got a little older and we were able to drive to golf courses, a few friends and I would go to the golf courses whenever we could afford to and play as best we could. And so it kind of my enjoyment and my love for the game kind of grew from there.
Okay. That's pretty good. Dave?
Do you play golf in the league or with a few friends?
I play golf with my friends quite a bit, David, and I'm in a couple leagues. I play in a Sunday league that travels all around Metro Detroit, and we play a different course about every month. And we play with a partner, and so I've been playing with my partner for probably over 10 years now in this league. And so we play with the same guys. We play a different match every time we have a match that month. And then I also play at a local course with some friends, and my wife joins us, and whoever wants to show up, we play. And we just get 9 holes in after work. It's a nice way to go out and have some fun.
Ryan?
Now, how did you decide to become a volunteer?
Well, volunteering was encouraged right out of the bat with school. Since our training as recreation therapists, we're going to be working with people and helping people. They encouraged a lot of classes that are requirements to do some volunteer works in the community. And so I did quite a bit of volunteering in college through that that training, and then getting involved in the Special Olympics right then too, because I'm not sure if all of you know, but I know Ryan knows this, that Special Olympics has a big competition every year in Mount Pleasant, and so that's where Central Michigan is. Has a big, they're a big competition for the summer sports, and so I remember volunteering there a few summers.
Any other question there?
Yeah. How did you become involved with Special Olympics?
Well, that's where I started when I was up at school, going to volunteer at the Summer Games up in Mount Pleasant. And then my involvement with Special Olympics after that started with being the golf coach. And I have some friends that have a daughter that's in the Special Olympics. And one day she called me and said, "Hey, Doug, you're going to be Team Troy's golf coach." And I said, "Okay." And I'm not sure what that means, but I'm game for that. So I kind of got volunteered, and I was more than happy to do it. And I've been doing it now for, I think, around 15 years we've been doing it.
My question is a little different. What is your job description with Special Olympics and why?
Well, my job as the golf coach, David, is helping and teaching all the athletes how to do all the skills that are part of the competition for the golf summer games. And so there's a couple competitions that people can be involved in, the athletes choose to be involved with. And basically we work on all the 6 skills that are required for the golf competition. And then we practice short putts, we practice long putts, we practice chipping, we practice pitching, and long iron shots, and driver or wood shots. And so we practice at a driving range, we practice at a local golf course on the putting green. And so my responsibilities are organizing the practices. Sometimes we set up little competitions, pick teams and have one team play against another and get used to being competitive. And sometimes it's just helping people learn how to pick which club they're going to hit and how to hit the club and how to do the best they can in each skill that we have to practice.
Right, but baseball is like a little different because we use bats.
A little different.
Ryan?
That is true.
Thank you, David. Thank you, gentlemen. Now, Doug, how have you been about volunteering in the golfing activity?
How long?
How long?
15 years, I think it's about, Ryan. I was trying to think of that today because I thought you might ask me that question. And I can't remember actually the year that we started, but it's been quite a long time.
I can't remember either. I forgot when it was. Any other question there?
So, do you teach golf classes? How often do they practice?
How often do we practice our golf? We
Yeah.
practice 10 times through the spring and summer, leading up to the golf competition for the state.
Yeah.
And so we practice once a week. And practices last right around an hour, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less. And so we get 10 good practices in before we have to go out and really show how we do in our competition.
Okay. So the classes are about an hour then? Okay.
Yep.
It's hard.
Dave?
Can you explain to me the 3 different things I'm going to ask you? What specific skills do you teach? What types of clubs?
What types of clubs?
Yeah.
Well, people get their own clubs. Our athletes are all responsible for having their own clubs, so they get some help picking out which clubs they like the best and what size clubs. And then part of learning the skills, we teach them how to use a putter, how to use a wedge or a 9-iron, how to use a long iron, how to use a wood to hit long shots, and we teach those skills. So it starts with how to hold the club, how to swing the club, and so it's fairly similar to taking a golf lesson.
What are your equipment like?
What equipment? Like golf clubs? You mean like golf shoes, David? Some people wear golf shoes. You don't have to wear golf shoes. Some people like to wear a golf glove. Other people don't like to wear a golf glove.
Is there any special clothing involved?
Just
too?
comfortable clothing. I think for the competition in Ypsilanti, our state competition, that most courses don't allow jeans and T-shirts, but you have to wear, you don't have to wear fancy clothes, but some casual clothes, comfortable shoes, maybe a hat so you don't get sunburned.
Ryan?
Are there any other special golf teachers in this area?
I'm sure there's a lot of Special Olympics golf teachers because there's a lot of teams that we see in all the competitions that
Right.
I've been to. And I've talked to a few of the golf coaches, and everybody has their own ideas. But we've shared some ideas about how best to teach the game to the athletes and promote the game of golf.
That brings a very interesting story. One year at a golf tournament, I was playing with another gentleman from a different state.
Okay.
And I was playing with this gentleman, I don't remember his name, and he was playing with me in the golf tournament, in the golf match one year. And Doug was saying, Ryan, you have to be careful, go slow, just swing the ball up easy. And I did pretty good. So
Okay.
I won.
That's awesome.
Thanks, Aaron.
Okay. Does your golf group play other Special Olympic teams in the area?
We do have different competitions. Our big competition is the state games that we have in Ypsilanti. But we also go to a fundraiser at Pine Trace Golf Club every year. And we don't play specifically another team, but everybody plays individually. But there are different teams. I know Monroe County has a big team that always comes to both competitions. Farmington Hills has a big team that always comes to both competitions. And so we don't have team matches, but we meet them at a match and have individual competitions. So often we see the same athletes at all the competitions, and usually because we see the same people, it's stiff competition.
I always win. Sometimes I lose. Never know, right, Doug? Never know.
Well, I don't know that everybody always wins, but everybody certainly does their best every time.
That's right.
How do your golf students learn all the rules of the game and why?
How do they learn all the rules of the game? I'm not even sure I know all the rules of the game, David, playing for almost 30 years. But we try to teach them the best, and we try to teach golf etiquette, and that being a big rule of one person hits at a time and trying to stand far enough away from everybody so you don't get hit, and not walking in front of someone when they're hitting a golf ball, because that can be a dangerous situation. We don't want anybody to get hurt.
I've seen a lot in baseball.
But then some of the golf rules, we teach that when we teach the skills. And so there's certain rules about putting and certain rules about chipping and driving. And we teach them as we go along. And as we teach them, people learn them and get more comfortable with all those rules.
Is there any statewide Special Olympics golf tournaments every year?
Every year, Ypsilanti hosts a big golf tournament where golfing Special Olympic athletes come from all over the state to compete in.
Okay.
The athletes compete in that. I'm going to guess, between 50 and 60 or 70, but there's a lot of athletes that come there. And there's a few choices that athletes have to make about that golf competition. They can do the skills competition, what we talked about, all the 6 skills, the putting, short putting, long putting, chipping, pitching, hitting woods, and hitting irons. Or they can do 9 holes, where they play 9 holes by themselves, and they come up with a score at the end of the 9 holes and have that kind of competition. Or there's the last one is called Unified. And when an athlete chooses to play in the Unified competition, they're playing with a family member or a friend. And what they do is they play alternate shot. As one person hits it, then the other person hits it, and then the other person hits it, and they keep alternating until the ball goes in the hole, and then they go to the next hole. And so they play 9 holes that way. And so there's choices for which competition the athlete feels would be best for them and which they feel they're best at.
Do they say 4?
If the ball's going at someone, they certainly do say 4.
And Danny's saying that.
Well, I suppose you have to in golf.
It's always good to be yelling 4 if the ball's going at someone.
That's right.
We don't want to hurt anyone.
It's also a good thing to say when you first tee off too, because it lets you know that it lets you know that the ball is about ready to fly and stand out of the way.
And in fact, actually, when my dad played golf with me one time, he says, "Ryan, got away, son. No one's getting hit."
Yep.
That's a good rule. Doug, what is the biggest challenge as a golf coach?
The biggest challenge as a golf coach,
Yeah.
it's not. There are some challenges. I think last year we had close to 25 athletes on the team, and so trying to organize and make sure everybody gets their chance to practice each skill within that hour, and sometimes practices turn into social hour, but trying to keep everybody focused on practicing and getting the time. That's probably the biggest challenge. But once everybody gets started, the practices seem to go okay.
All right, thank you.
What is your role during the tournaments?
When we go to the golf competitions, my role is as coach, and so quite often the athletes are all participating in their skills at the same time, and there's a lot of different skills going on at once. So the locations aren't right next to each other, so I try to take the time and make sure I see everybody participate in at least one of their skills. So I'm often going from one area to another area to another area to check on everybody to see how they're doing and give them encouragement and help them if they need some help at that point.
Okay. Dave?
How are judges selected, and do they have a set of judging rules?
Well, there certainly are judging rules, and for each of the skills, there's a point system. You get more points for the closer you get to the hole, and you get the most points if the ball goes in the hole for any of the skills. And so the judges are selected. The judges are all volunteers in all the competitions we go to. And sometimes it's a company, or sometimes it's a few companies, or people that want to be involved with Special Olympics. And so they volunteer their time, and they're given some information about the rules and how to score each skill. And then they go out there and help the athletes and score those skills that are happening.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I might got one more. Okay. What kind of golfer do in the what kind of golfer do in the off season to stay in practice?
Okay. In Michigan, that's pretty hard to golf in the winter. So there's a lot of things that golfers here do to stay in practice and try to keep in golf shape.
Yeah.
There's a lot of indoor domes where we can practice hitting golf balls. And so that's always a nice way to keep your swing as consistent as possible and practice. Often they have putting greens where you can putt inside. And there's another thing that there's not too many in the area, but there's a few, but they're called golf simulators, where it's a computer kind of booth where you can hit your own clubs into a screen, and on the screen's like a picture of a real golf course, and you kind of play that golf course. And so it's almost like playing a real live video game where you get to swing your own clubs and hit the ball. So that's a nice way to keep in practice. And another thing with computers is the game of Wii. It's not exactly swinging your club, but it's playing golf and getting used to playing or on the computer and swinging and keeping up those golf skills. I think that can be helpful for a lot of people because it keeps us flexible and keeps us limber and helps those muscles.
To me, I get more water time.
Well, guys, shall we
Has you tell people about getting involved in volunteering? What special memory would you share to us today?
A special memory about volunteering?
Yeah.
Well, I think every competition brings its own memory, David, because every competition is different, and seems like every athlete has a special memory of each competition. And so with being there and watching everybody and seeing how hard they practice and seeing how hard they play, I have a lot of special memories, team photos before and after, watching someone hit it in the hole maybe for the first time or not even for the first time, but how exciting that is for each one of them. And of course, winning medals, whether no matter it's first, second, or third place. It's just watching the satisfaction when they get their awards for doing the best they could that day.
Well, gentlemen, it's almost time for our program.
As you know, Ryan, we got 2 minutes, so let's get into our quick questions.
All right.
Okay.
By looking at you, I know you're a water person, but please tell me the truth. Are you a pop person instead?
I'm not a pop person.
You're not.
I'm sorry, David. I'm a fan of the show, and I knew you were going to ask me that, and you're going to be
great.
disappointed. But I'm not a pop person.
Doug, what is your restaurant?
My favorite restaurant?
Yeah, what is it?
I have a lot of favorite restaurants. Probably one of my favorites is Sangria in Royal Oak.
Okay.
Well, that's my turn to close. Doug, I'll say thanks for being our guest today. Golf is a popular sport, and to hear about your involvement in helping those with disabilities on all levels is rewarding, especially the Special Olympics activities. Remember, next month, please tune into Community Corner, where our guest in May will talk about water aerobics for those with disabilities. My name again is David DeWitt Taylor. And my friends are
Thanks for being our guest today. My name is Aaron Connie Castle.
And I'm your host, Mr. Ryan Nicholas. We'll be wishing you a very safe and wonderful afternoon. Bye, everybody.
and go Tigers!
You know.